You know, when you take one of those big language exams and you're left wondering, what are they actually testing here? Is it just about cramming vocabulary and grammar rules, or is there something bigger at play? Well, today we're going to find out. We are deconstructing a real university-level English exam to see what it's truly made of. I mean, look at this. At first glance, it just looks like a bunch of computer code, right? Cold, hard data. Mandatory. No shuffling. But what if this isn't just a set of rules? What if it's the start of a blueprint, a map that shows us what it really means to be proficient in a language? And that is the million-dollar question, isn't it? By taking this one exam apart, piece by piece, we're going to get to the heart of that question. We're going to see how it tests everything from huge, sweeping ideas down to the tiniest little details and then back out into the real world again. All right, so our investigation kicks off with the big stuff. Reading comprehension. But listen, this isn't your high school book report. This exam throws some seriously diverse and complex topics at you, starting with something that feels like it was ripped straight from yesterday's newsfeed. Wow, talk about high stakes. 1 minute you're just answering a test question, and the next you're deep in the corporate drama of OpenAI and grappling with a potential threat to all of humanity. This is really a test of whether you can handle dense, modern, and frankly, kind of alarming information. And then, bam, the exam just completely flips the script. We're jumping from the absolute cutting edge of Silicon Valley, thousands of years into the past, deep in the Amazon rainforest. Now, you're being tested on a totally different skill. Can you understand scientific discovery? Can you question what we thought we knew about history? And just to complete the whiplash, we go from the global and the historical straight into something deeply, deeply personal. See, this isn't about facts or theories anymore. This is about raw human emotion. The exam wants to know if you can understand not just information, but the feeling of desperation that's communicated through vivid literary language. So you see what's happening here, right? The point isn't just, can you read? It's, can you think? The questions force you to be a detective. You have to pull out specific fears from a corporate memo, figure out why a man is physically weak from a description, and even decode something as abstract as professional honor. It's all about critical thinking, but applied to completely different worlds. Okay, so we've looked at the big picture. Now we're going to grab a magnifying glass and zoom way, way in. The exam has to know if you've mastered the fundamental building blocks of the language itself. You know, the words, the grammar, all the nuts and bolts that hold it all together. First up, the absolute basics. Opposites. It's a pretty direct test. In a world of turmoil, can you identify its opposite, calm? It's a quick, fundamental check of your vocabulary's range. And of course, right after that, they test the flip side. Do you know different ways to say the same thing? Knowing that reinstate and restore are basically twins, or that evading is like bypassing, that shows a much more flexible and nuanced command of the language. And this is what I call the grammar gauntlet. This is where close enough just doesn't cut it. It's a series of little puzzles. Can you handle tricky subject-verb agreement? Do you know the massive difference a single apostrophe makes? Every little preposition, every verb tense, it's all part of the blueprint of the language, and they want to know if you can follow it precisely. And you'd think, okay, it can't get any more detailed than that, right? Wrong. The exam even asks you to break down words into the sounds they're made of. How many syllables in speculation? Spec-u-lation. 4. It's not just about what you see, but what you hear. All right, so we've gone from these massive stories all the way down to individual sounds. Now for the grand finale, can you actually use any of this stuff? This is where everything is supposed to come together in practical, real-world situations. And this is a perfect example. The test gives you this big, dense paragraph of text describing a bunch of events at a festival. Your job? To take that wall of words and turn it into this, a clear, simple schedule that someone can actually use. It's a test of taking messy information and making it make sense. It's not just about data either. It's about people. The exam will give you a phone conversation that's all jumbled up, and your job is to put the pieces back together in an order that makes logical sense. This isn't just about vocabulary. It's about understanding the unspoken flow of a normal, professional conversation. Because let's be real, to actually be fluent, you have to know how people really talk, right? You need to understand the shortcuts, the idioms, things like roping someone in or telling them to hold on.
The exam checks for this stuff to see if you get the language as it's spoken on the street, not just in a textbook.
So we've decoded the stories, we've inspected the toolkit, we've seen English out in the wild. After all that, what's the verdict? What does that final grade on the paper really tell us about someone?
Well, when you look at how the exam is built, it paints a really interesting picture. It puts a lot of weight on that big picture comprehension. But it also shows that you can't get there without a solid grip on the fine details and, crucially, the ability to apply all of it to real-life situations. It's a balance. No one skill is everything. They all have to work together.
So when you boil it all down, here's what the exam is really saying. True language proficiency isn't just one thing. It's agility. It's the ability to zoom in from a huge idea, like a world-threatening AI, down to the tiniest detail, like an apostrophe, and then zoom right back out to something practical, like how to politely end a phone call. You know, there's this one quote from the test that kind of brings this whole idea full circle. The idea that we can learn from the ancient past to help us today. In the same way, an exam like this isn't just about judging you. It's about building a set of skills, analysis, precision, application, that lets you learn and adapt to anything the future throws at you. Which leaves us with one last kind of mind-bending question. An exam like this has to freeze language in time to decide what's correct. But you and I know that language is alive. It's always changing, always evolving. So maybe the ultimate test of proficiency isn't just mastering all the rules, but knowing when and how you're supposed to break them.